Arclight. Are you there? Arclight, do you copy? This is Nostromo. The jump failed. We're still in Earth orbit, but losing altitude rapidly. Stand by, Arclight.
200 years into the future, an asteroid that was predicted to fly past Earth ends up crashing into the moon, sending shards and debris plummeting down to the Earth's surface. Eventually, the asteroid itself falls to Earth, causing a dark age known as the 9-Year Winter. This Earth-changing event came to be known as Firefall. Scientists discovered that the asteroid carried a new mineral called crystite, an element capable of generating an unparalleled amount of power. Crystite became a primary fuel source, pulling humanity out of its dark age and into a golden era. But, like most resources, the amount of crystite was limited, and soon people sought out a means to find more. By tracking its path, researchers discovered that the asteroid came from the star system Alpha Centauri, and would be the main location for finding more crystite. And over a 4-year space commute, researchers formed a space colony called Alpha Prime, which would become the primary resource hub for transporting crystite back to Earth. But over time, humanity became heavily dependent on crystite, so much so that the world governments feared that if Alpha Prime were to revolt, Earth's infrastructure would crumble to its knees. So they began to look for more efficient ways to transport to and from Alpha Prime in order to obtain as much crystite as possible. Eventually, scientists created a technology called arc folding, which uses wormholes to send things over large distances in a short amount of time. With arc folding, a trip to Alpha Prime went from an 8-year trip to an 8-day trip. Governments pooled their resources together to make the Arclight, a massive ship capable of arc-folding an entire crew to Alpha Prime in one trip. But the Arclight's first launch ended up being disastrous, and instead of creating a wormhole, the Arclight formed a tear in the fabric of space, causing a brutal energy storm called the Melding to pass through the rift. The Melding consumed a majority of Earth, mutating all life in its path and leaving only a small pocket of survivors. And this is where Firefall's journey begins. You start off as one of Earth's few remaining survivors, and as a member of the special fighting force known as the Accord, you're tasked with protecting what's left of humanity. So Firefall is this huge open-world MMORPG, but it's also, interestingly, an FPS, which I was pleasantly surprised by. It plays really well as a shooter, and you can actually switch between first-person and third-person mode, and the gameplay kind of feels like Borderlands. It also looks like Borderlands, with the cel shading a little bit, but the environments are beautiful. There's oceanside landscapes, lifelike cities, and even Brontodons? But not only do you have the PvE aspect of the game, you also have PvP, so you can go play matches like TDM, they have a new mode called Jetball, which is actually their esports mode, and they have a couple of other modes too, but basically if you're tired of playing in the PvE instances and just running around in the world, you can go and play multiplayer matches, which are ranked and keeps track of your stats and everything, so it's really dynamic and there's always something to do in this world. And basically, most of your time is going to be spent gathering resources because as a member of the Accord, you're part of the, special elite fighting force, and you're given this awesome suit known as a battle frame, and it's able to help defend you against a lot of the crazy bad guys that you encounter in this world, and one of those bad guys is called the Chosen. And they're basically just like soldiers of the Accord, but they've been mutated by the Melding. So they're super powerful, super aggressive, and they're kind of monster-like. They also have all these creatures that have been mutated by the Melding as well. And the Chosen will come and try to take over your cities, your watchtowers, and if they're successful in doing so, then it'll pretty much put this huge Melding cloud over the city, and you won't be able to get hardly any resources or anything from that area. So you're trying to push back the Melding and prevent the Chosen from attacking and taking over what's left of where you guys live. Now, a majority of your resource gathering is going to come from what's called thumping for resources. So you have this big drill bit called a thumper, and you call it down from the sky. It comes from this place called Thump Dump, and it drops down sort of like how Titanfall's Titans drop from the sky, and it slams into the ground and starts drilling for resources. But as it does that, the pounding attracts a bunch of bad guys that are around underground. They come out and try to attack your thumper. So you have to fend off all the bad guys, and there's different types of thumpers that attract tons of bad guys, and some of them are personal ones that just attract 1 or 2, and it's okay for 1 player. But yeah, depending on where you thump in the ground, you get different types of resources, and you refine the resources to upgrade your battle frame, and that's basically how the leveling system works. Now the questing system is a little bit different from what you would expect from other MMOs like, say, Warcraft or something, in that Firefall has missions, and they also have dynamic events. So you'll have daily missions like gather a certain amount of resources or kill a certain amount of creatures, and you'll get a daily mission loot crate, which is full of resources and whatnot. A big loot drop, basically. And you'll also have dynamic events, which are things like a chosen invasion will occur, and all of the people in the city need to go and defend this city before it gets taken over, and that'll give you a ton of resources and a ton of XP. So those are your main ways of leveling up. So you don't have like a bunch of NPCs with little blinking yellow things over their head telling you to do some remedial fetch quest. Instead you have the daily missions and the current activities, and that's really nice. And you also have sort of like your own Navi. Her name is Arrow, and she's this woman that you meet at the tutorial. And actually the tutorial is really important, so if you're going to start playing the game, do the whole tutorial, because there is one main event, one main mission that helps you open up different areas of the map that you can't do normally. You need to do the main mission, and it's called Echoes from Surto, or Surtau, however you say it. But you have to complete the tutorial for that quest to be activated. And because the game still is in beta, there are some little bugs here and there with how the missions are popping up for some people. So yeah, the forums are really helpful, and everybody on the forums are able to explain things. And I would just recommend not getting too overwhelmed when you start playing the game, because it can be kind of confusing. And it did take me a little while to get used to crafting and upgrading my abilities and all of that good stuff, but once you get in the groove of things, it's a really fun game and it's really addicting. And the world is huge, you know, if you see an area on your map that's open, you can run there. And it takes a little while, but you definitely can just go explore on your own, and there aren't loading screens, and you don't have like areas where you have to be a certain level to go play it. You can pretty much explore anywhere that you see that's open on your map. So if you haven't played Firefall yet, I recommend you go give it a shot. It's been in open beta for about a week, and it is free to play, so if you don't like the game, don't spend any money on it. And that brings me to another thing that I'd like to commend Firefall for doing, and that's the fact that they're trying to avoid having a pay-to-win type of game. Because with a lot of free-to-play games, people worry that you have to spend a lot of real money right away to level up your character and just to have a decent playable character. But that's not the case with Firefall, at least not from what I've experienced. I've been able to level up an entire battle frame in about a week just by doing in-game achievements and missions, and I haven't spent a single penny on the game. And the things that they do charge you for are things like cosmetic upgrades, like a new paint for your battle frame, or they'll charge you for convenience type things, like if you want to get the motorcycle quickly, you can just buy it and have it right away, but you can have the option to craft it yourself. It just takes a little bit more work. So if you want the convenience of having the motorcycle right away, you'd have to pay for it. And I think that's reasonable. But so far I've had a blast playing the Firefall open beta, and I hope it gets enough support in the future for them to really polish the game and to add some new content to it, and I'm looking forward to what they have in store. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know if you want to see some more Firefall content, and I would happily oblige. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this is StrangeLuv signing out. Bye-bye!